Hey, Gilberto here. Sorry about the lack of videos, I've been away, but today's video is hopefully on an interesting topic, the strongest team in Endfield. You may have clicked and been like, guoba. 1. Every team is slapping content, and 2. Content is variable, so not a single team is always the fastest at clearing. But I'm going to try and talk about the topic anyway because it's interesting despite these points, and also because we have Contingency Contract coming soon that might open the damage ceiling to new heights. So let's just get straight into it. First, let's avoid the team topic altogether. When I think about the strongest characters in the game, I first think of Fangyi and Rossi among DPS, and Tang and Gilberta among supports. Fangyi has a very accessible and OP team with more potential to get stronger, and despite a backloaded ult, she is clearing some fights in extraordinary times. Since content kinda just dies right now before one ult ends, she looks relatively similar to current top performers, but in case of a second ult rotation when content gets longer, she's gonna decimate the competition. Rossi has some of the highest and easiest burst damage out there with her ultimate, with a giant flexibility in teams, making her top tier if you invest heavily into her premium setup, but still amazing if you don't. If content isn't made to last, Rossi is one of your best bets to clear it as fast as possible, and her ult rotation isn't that bad if you need more. And while for the supports, we have Gilberta, who has become such a powerful slot in so many teams. On release, she had it rough despite some solid uses like Electric, but we then got Yvonne's rework, and then Tang, and then Rossi, and now Fangyi, and it seems Gilberta is just getting team after team. Her flexibility in buff application, her power in SP-less inflictions, her access to corrosion, she has it all right now. Tang is similarly flexible despite being made for Yvonne and Last Right teams. Now 2 teams are already great, but then she can act as a sub-DPS infliction unit for Rossi and for other units, and she can be her own DPS if you really want. She also has SP neutral infliction if needed just like Gilberta, as well as buffing even if weaker than Gilberta's. But then again, Tang has that extra personal damage that helps characters with narrow damage distribution face certain content easier. Combining these 4 strong units here and there, and we have 2 of the top teams right now with Fangyi Gilberta plus Arknight Perlica, as well as Rossi Tang Gilberta plus Perlica. Whilst I'm here, I'd like to give a special mention to 3 burst DPS queens with Avywenna, Yvonne, and Last Right, who all perform really well in speedruns and still have top clears even with newer 6-star and limited DPS coming out. Avywenna has quick burst setups for small HP pools which help some cases, but she also has a very flexible amount of burst. If you need a certain amount of damage, she can choose how many combos and/or ults to use in a battle skill pullback. Yvonne and Last Right are beast single target DPS, but Last Right suffers an AoE since enemies that are often killed by AoE have low HP pools, and using Last Right's larger hitbox ult on them instead of a harder enemy is dropping a lot of potential damage. Yvonne might not suffer as much thanks to her combo and battle skills. But then in single target, Last Right does also have a really powerful combo skill, so she isn't as ultimate focused as other characters here for her damage. Both have their pros and cons. So which team would I choose to be the best? Well, I think because she should be undisputedly the best in long fights and is still top tier in burst, Fangyi just wins. In case Contingency Contract is actually really hard and lets you max out tons of difficulty modifiers, or enemy HP could get crazy and a longer fight means Fangyi gets stronger and stronger. Before we yap and glaze Fangyi for a few minutes, we should however talk a bit more about Rossi, who I also mentioned is a top DPS alongside Fangyi, and it's all about that ultimate. As said before in current content, her ult is enough to one-shot boss phases with the full team setup, or in even squishier content like Umbral Monument, she can go even faster as she can often skip ally ults and still nuke whatever she's facing. And that flexibility is still amazing. I mean, it's so amazing that you can even run Rossi with Fangyi and it can just work. Her utility is one-shotting something, and if you can burst down a boss phase with Rossi ult, her job is done, and your main DPS can use the rest of the fight tackling the rest of the HP bars. That's why we see Rossi sometimes with Levitain, with Fangyi, etc., and I won't be surprised if this trend keeps continuing with future releases. She's a main DPS that can be a burst sub-DPS. And I'd also like to quickly mention the physical team as another big winner if content does take longer to clear. They are also excellent at bursty fights, don't get me wrong, but they are also always doing consistent damage, which is perfect in case of HP getting larger and less breakpointy on big bursts of damage. And if the fight needs you to constantly cycle rotations, well, physical does stagger better than anyone, and the longer the fight, the more stagger breakpoints they'll hit versus anyone else. That's more damage windows, more SP, more stagger multiplier, more finishes, and less enemy movement. But yeah, let's talk about Fangyi. I didn't manage to do a guide on her, but I'm sure we all know how strong she is and how she works. So let's go why she should scale so well and why I think her team is the best right now. Whilst we're here, if you don't know her teams already, it is her, Palika, Arknight, Gilberta, with Antel and Ardele being a possible slot in for Gilberta, but for high burst fights you can also slot in Akakuri over Arknight or even Gilberta if you don't have her. First, let's talk about her ramping. We already talked a bit about that first ult rotation still being pretty strong, but the reason why she should destroy competition in case of longer fights is the subsequent ult rotations. Now, if the enemy stalls you out forever, then maybe not, but anyways. Yvonne, Rossi, Last Rite, etc. can all get another ult, sure. Some supports like Gilberta might need to skill on a first team cycle, and now she can ult on the subsequent team cycles, also sure. But Fangyi directly upgrades her next ult rotations after her first one thanks to her Sunderblade mechanic. She has to ramp up Sunderblades to get to the first ultimate, we know the 3 to 6 to 9 rotation, but when she hits that 9, then every battle skill is giving the maximum possible energy, and Fangyi's ult rotation is thus reduced. So not only does she have the strongest power during the ult, but she gets it back even faster now. The second reason I think Fangyi is going to be the best is she still could have an upgrade to go, and that is likely Mifu, maybe like how Yvonne got Tang Tang. Speculation is still speculation, so don't take this point too seriously, but it's true that Fangyi still feels a little clunky in regards to her ult rotation. She needs specifically an ult energy piece, or she needs to use 100 extra SP to hit her first ult in a standard rotation, and a new character could hopefully fix that whilst giving other benefits. Mifu being a lore accurate best in slot buddy would be perfect. A third reason is for the spenders, so skip forward a bit if you don't care about that, but Fangyi has some of the best potentials in the game. Strong potentials are rare, they're not necessary right now, and it's more of a thing to go further beyond for your favorites. But nonetheless, her skill her an excellent amount, with her P1 probably being the best in the game right now. And a final fourth reason is her power in single target and AoE. She not only has some of the strongest hitting abilities in the game, but they're with a wide hitbox as well. A character like Last Rite struggles in AoE and deletes single targets, whereas Lei is great in AoE, but versus our current top tiers doesn't perform as well in single target speedruns. Fangyi can do both at a high level even with her current teams. So we have high burst damage for speedruns, high consistent damage thanks to shortened rotations for longer fights in the future. We have single target power and AoE power as well as strong mobility to reach any annoying foe. And we still have a potential teammate to go. If you spend, you get even more scaling than any other character could get. But remember, even if a character is the best, that doesn't mean other teams are bad. They're also OP and they're clearing nearly as fast as Fangyi, with a few seconds of difference, or the same speed, or even a bit faster in some cases. But when you consider all the pros that she has, I think you can safely call her the best, with potential to be even better when content gets seriously hard. This is just all talk about what could be considered the best, but as said before, there's never a single best team in all content. RE Crisis bosses have different best clearers, Umbral Monument gets deleted by Rossi, Neferith gets stomped by Fangyi, etc. The game is not currently hard enough to even need a best team, and the real best team is the one you enjoy playing, like Fluorite main DPS. So this video did end up as kind of a Fangyi glazing video, but I think it's karma for me not doing a guide on her. And again, I think that 1, we don't really need to compare the best teams right now since the game is nicely balanced, and 2, that we have a lot of good teams anyway, but hey, I hope this was an interesting topic. Thank you so much for watching and have a go day.